So I'm taking an ad account from zero to spending 300K in its first 30 days, and I'm going to document everything step by step. So I want to start off this video with a little bit of a confession. I'm a liar. I'm a fraud. Well, I'm not a fraud, but literally as soon as I got off filming the last video in this, well, the first video in this series, which was last week, I had a conversation with my client. Literally immediately afterwards, I had a message from them. And we basically decided, well, they kind of said, hey, they want to actually turn down the ad spend a little bit, and they don't want to spend 300K. They want to spend 220K, right? And there's a few different reasons for it. We're changing a few, we've done this launch process multiple times. We're changing a few variables this time. And I feel like they didn't want to go from like spending last time 180K all the way to 300. They wanted to just spend 220. Now, part of me wanted to kind of like go back and forth and maybe like ease their concerns and say, no, we should spend more. But honestly, I don't know why I didn't. I just accepted it just because I think I was busy that day, honestly. But yeah, so we're going to be spending 220K now in 30 days, which kind of ruins the title of this video. But 300K sounds better and a bit more round than 220. So I don't really know whether to change the title or not. I've already started saying 0 to 300. So we'll see anyway. But because of that, we've had to change some of the projections, which we'll talk about. So in this video, I'll run through kind of the game plan over the next 3 weeks. Then I'll talk about the results over the last week with the ad since we launched it. And then I'll actually go through in real time. I've not edited any of the ads today, and I'm going to go through and start like turning stuff off and looking at the results. So I'm just going to go in there and have a look and kind of talk you through my thoughts and my thought process as I'm looking at the data. So I don't really know how that's going to go, but I'm just going to do it live. So hopefully that'll be good content, or it could be really boring. We will see. So again, if you want to look at the initial projections and what we were going to do, you can watch the last video. But as of right now, we've spent $46,800 in the last week on ads. So yeah, that's like 8 days. We have generated 9,800 leads. So our average cost per lead of $4.77, pretty good. So we're pretty much on track. Like I said in the last video, like the top KPI that I want to make sure I kind of like don't want to go over is $7.50 cost per lead. So I'm feeling very confident with that right now. And partially reducing the spend from 300K to 220K was a blessing almost, because I, in the beginning, set up the ads to spend the full 300. And because of that, we started spending more than I usually would from day one. But now we're reducing the spend. The pressure for us to obviously scale up is a lot less. And therefore, because we started with higher budgets than usual or more campaigns than usual, we're actually ahead of projection now, and it means I'm going to have to scale a lot less. And I think things are just going to be easier. And we don't really need to increase the spend that much going forward because we're already on a pretty good spend per day right now. So if we look at the numbers, I don't know why, Facebook doesn't necessarily go off a daily spend. It goes off more of a weekly spend these days. So it could spend more than your daily budget in any given day. But yesterday was pretty low considering I didn't turn any of the ads off. So I'm not sure what happened there, but maybe it's just Facebook's doing its thing. Again, I've not really looked inside the ad account today. I'm filming this pretty much as I open it for the first time. But we should be spending about 7K a day. You can see over the last few days, we pretty much hit that. So projection-wise, so far we have spent 46, which I've just said, and then the projection at this point was 39. So we're like 7K over this new projection. So this new projection should get us around 213,000 in spend, and that leaves us about $7,000 then for reminder ads, which are retargeting the leads to basically attend the event and the program. And then we'll have some more budget for sales ads, which will obviously, after we do the sell, retarget the leads to drive them back to the sales page. So I'm going to spend a majority of the budget on registration ads, which I think is the best thing to do. And right now we're ahead of projection. So we'll probably spend another 7K today. There's no kind of pressure for us to really increase the spend up until kind of like the next couple of weeks. And that should be pretty easy because we only really need to scale up to like 9K a day, which is just literally an extra 2K a day. And I could easily do that with some of the campaigns that are working pretty well right now. So things are going pretty good in terms of the cost per lead. So I basically adjusted the projections here as well. So if we spend $220, $7.50 cost per lead, you could go through the numbers, 29,000 leads based on previous conversion rates, or at least worst case scenario conversion rates, sales 264, cash 368, revenue 759, which means cash profit 148, revenue profit 539, which means cash ROAS 1.68, revenue ROAS 3.45. So again, those numbers aren't necessarily what I want, but hopefully this is worst case scenario. But I'm feeling confident that we're going to get more than this. So that's kind of the projection. I want to do more. I want at least a 2 cash ROAS. I'll be very disappointed if we don't get that. Would love to get a 3 cash ROAS and get over a 5 revenue ROAS. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, I'll dive into the ad account in a second. One of the things that and I've seen my clients do it quite a lot, and it just kind of links back to the conversation I had with the client about reducing the ad spend. So one of the reasons why they wanted to reduce it is because we're changing a few different things about how we're selling this offer during the launch and kind of like the pricing and stuff as well. So there's 2 offers. There's one that's 2K, one that's 5K. We're going to increase the price of this first offer to 3K now. And then we're also changing how we're selling it a little bit. And what I always say to our clients is you don't really want to change like too many variables at once, because on top of those things, a client wanted to change multiple things about the launch and how we do it and the process with the intention to improve it. But the problem is especially if you've got something that's working, if you then go and change like 4 or 5 different variables, it's very risky, because if it works, great, but you don't know what worked. And if it didn't work, you don't know what didn't work, and you don't know why you just lost a load of money. Again, if you're like losing money and whatever strategy you're currently using isn't working and it's not making you money, then yeah, go nuts. You can rip it all up and just change everything. But if you've already got something that's producing you millions of dollars, then what you don't want to do is go and change like 5 different variables, right? You don't want to go and change the price, how you sell it, the offer, the front end offer, the whole. You don't want to start changing absolutely everything, because that could just be a recipe for the disaster. And either way, if it worked or didn't work, you don't know why, which is a big problem. So that's just like one thing I've seen with clients sometimes. Be like, we'll change this, we'll improve this, we'll do that. And I'm just like a big component of, you can't change too many variables at once. Again, especially if it's working, you just want to change one main thing. You run it, test it, analyze the data, and then make a decision from there. Okay, so that's kind of like what's happening right now inside of, just like the overall numbers. Let's have a look inside of the ad account then. So right now, we spent about 47K. We do have, again, a reminder ad campaign that is retargeting the leads, getting them to like join the Facebook group and the course area. It's not included in here in the data, just so we can have a look at pure like registration ads. But I mean, that's literally probably spent like $100. So it's not that much of an increase as of right now. So this is what we are looking at. Where's the best place for me to put myself? Let's go here. So these are the campaigns. Let's filter on cost per lead. So, amount spent. So on average, the campaigns right now we're spending like $500 a day, or that's what the starting budget was. And you can see that pretty much all of them right now have spent like 2K. So all of them have been running for at least 4 days. So right now, pretty much every single campaign, we can go in and we can have a look at all the data. Like after 4 days, it's spent the budget. That's going to give you enough data, usually, if the budget's high enough, for you to really go in and have a look at what's going on and start making informed decisions. You don't want to start making decisions on ads that have been running, less than 24 hours. So 4 days is a real solid time for us to go in and start looking at ads, what's working and what's not working. Some of the campaigns you can see probably with the budget, I've increased it over the past week. So after the initial like 4 or 5 day period, the campaigns that were working well, I increased the budget by like 15%, and I've did that twice to a few of the campaigns. So the ones on 660 have been increased twice over the past week since I've done the previous video. So yeah, and you can see this one, both of these up here, which have spent the most right now, 5K each, both pretty good cost per lead. And very likely today I'm going to increase that budget again. So without even looking too much inside of the ads, the campaigns, I already know that, everything, let's filter on cost per lead, everything below, I'd say $5 for me is like definitely something that I'll put a lot more budget behind. So you can see we've got a few different campaigns that are doing that, which is good. This is a European campaign. And this one is an Australian campaign, and this is a UK campaign. So I'm actually not too bothered about scaling those. If I was to spend the 300K in the 30 days, I probably would, because I'd be more pressure to spend money. But I think one thing we've done probably in the past is relied too much on those other markets where we do get customers and we get clients and they are profitable. But we know the conversions from US and Canada are like so much more. So this time I want to try and put less spend on those countries and really focus on spending as much as possible on US and Canada, just because our clients are based there. We just know that, the conversions mostly come from there. So the good news is that this campaign, and like this campaign, even though it's $5.13, these three, are all US, which is great. So I'm definitely going to be increasing the budget on all of these. And then the rest up from here, because this is UK, so it won't increase that. Canadian, it's $6.97, so I'm not going to increase that. And in fact, I've increased this twice already, and the cost per lead is too high, so I'm not going to increase that again. But that's basically kind of like my cutoff point. Above $5 probably won't scale up. Below $5, I'll put more budget to it. Maybe as we get towards the end and I need to spend money, I might increase the budget on some of those that are slightly above $5. Because again, my main KPI is anything under 750 is okay. But obviously I want to try and get the lowest cost per lead as possible. So that's from like a bird's eye view of how I'm looking at the account right now. And what I'll do is we'll look at some of the stuff that's working well, and we'll have a look at some of the stuff that's not working, and we'll kind of see what's going on. One thing before I dive in though, one of the main tests, which I talked about in the previous video, maybe if we go on amount spent, it might be better. One of the previous tests that we were doing in the other video, that I mentioned in the other video, is we've got most of the campaigns are running to a Facebook lead form, and then the other batch of campaigns are running to an application form that's hosted with Jotform on a ClickFunnels page. So one of the ways we were going to spend more budget is basically by having two different, even though it's kind of the same, like lead generation, two different funnels effectively to see which perform the best. And right now you can definitely see that the lead form is working better. So we got, this is an application, this is an application, this is an application, and this is an application. The rest are going to the lead form. So obviously most of these are spent the less because I launched these second. This one is US, $4.49, so that's going really well. $7.18, $8.35, $7.15, so these aren't going too well. So yeah, I'm gonna go and have a look at them. But as of right now, the lead form is generating less leads. People have a discussion over, lead form, yes, gets cheaper leads, but is it the best quality? And I'd say it really depends on the process the person goes through after they become a lead. Because you're right, like when someone just clicks an ad and a form pops up and it kind of like auto-populates the details and they just press like submit, then yeah, that wasn't much friction, and therefore they're not really going to remember who you are, what you do, why you've got their number, or like why you're sending them emails. And what most people will do is they'll have like a setter dial them, right? Someone will opt in with the lead form. They don't really know what they're doing. They're just clicking around. They opt in, and then a setter will dial them and try and get them booked in for a sales call. And the sales team will typically be like, oh, these leads are shit because they didn't know who we were, they weren't serious, they put the phone down on me, blah, 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 right? And that's because you haven't nurtured them whatsoever. And it's right. These leads have absolutely no clue who you are if they've just opted in for a lead form. So for us, obviously the process that someone goes through after they've become a lead, that process before we sell to them is very intense. Because again, you can look through the strategy that I talked about in the last video, but it's a 3-week program with coaching, course material, community. So I think the reason why this has been so profitable for us, and we've literally got like a 5 to 10x on ad spend, made millions of dollars with this launch process, primarily through lead forms. And the reason why is because we take that lead that is unqualified, that isn't very warm and is quite cold and wouldn't buy on day one, but we send them through a 3-week process where we really nurture them and turn them into a lead. But if you're generating leads with lead forms and you've just got some unexperienced setter trying to book them onto a sales call, or you send them like a 50-minute VSL that gets them to book in a sales call, then that's not really a great nurture process for a lead that's so cold. That's my theory anyway of why we've been able to make so much money with lead forms with this process. We've had it for clients in the past where we did use lead forms and with the whole VSL funnel, just get them on a call. And it was similar experience to what I just described, where the leads were like low quality. So that's the big thing for me, is if you do use lead forms, you are probably going to get a cheaper cost per lead, but you need to make sure that nurturing process is very good and turns them from cold to warm versus just thinking that you're going to dial them or you're going to send them one email and they're going to be like, yeah, I want to buy from you, because realistically, that's not going to happen. Most of these people who opt in for the first time with a lead form, they have no clue who you are, right? And they're not going to remember you. So that's like my biggest advice with lead forms. So again, I'll analyze how these application campaigns are doing. I'm not going to be afraid to turn some of them off if they don't work well. But yeah, I'm definitely not going to launch any to any other country other than US and Canada, because again, those are the countries that we're going to focus on. But for the most part, this one is working pretty well. And if we look at the cost per lead, the two of the best performing campaigns is this one and this one. And these are both US audiences. They're both same set of images. This is just going to the lead form, and this one is going to the application. So those batches of images and ad copy that we've been testing have been killing it to the US audience, which is the main thing. So if I can just scale these two campaigns over the next couple of weeks, then I'm going to be super happy. So let's have a look at this campaign and have a look what I did last week. So this has spent about $2K right now. So again, this is one of the last ones I launched. If I'm looking at this, cost per lead $9.94, obviously not very good. $14.81, obviously not very good. And this one's $7.41. So like even this isn't very good, and it's the best performing one. So what I would probably do looking at this, like I'm more concerned about this one than this one, because this one, yeah, cost per lead $14, not good. This only spent $44, so it's not even getting any of the budget. This one has spent a decent chunk of the budget, nearly 50%. And it's $9.94 cost per lead. So this is not good whatsoever. And this one, again, not even that good. Maybe with some more data, it would work better, and we'll have a look inside. If we have a look here at these, and even these, there's just like one ad that is like bringing up the cost per lead. It really just kind of sucks a little bit. Even this one, $7.26, isn't very good. And that's the best performing one. So we got a little bit of work to do here. What I would do, or what I am going to do in this scenario, is I'm going to turn these two off. And, I did that on the last one. I'm going to turn these two campaigns off. Sorry, these two ad sets off. And I'm going to leave this one on. And I'm basically going to launch, and these are video ads. So I'm going to launch, we have a load more videos that have been filmed over the past week. Well, I say a load more, like 4 or 5 more. And I'm going to launch one that is very similar to this. It's not a variation, but it's kind of similar messaging, targeting the similar type of customer in a similar way. Can't speak. And I might launch another one that is just like completely different and just test it. But these two, I'm definitely going to turn off. If I go inside of this one, looking at this right now, I mean, I'd probably turn this off, and I'd probably duplicate this one, and I'd probably even just try some completely new copy. So just for context, these are all the same video, just 3 different pieces of copy. Now, none of this copy is necessarily working great, so I don't really want to like duplicate this and just make like a small variation, because is like that small variation going to take it from $7 to $5 or $4? Maybe if I use like a different first line or something like that. But what I'm probably going to do is launch a completely new, different piece of copy that is like has different messaging completely. Again, if it was like maybe like $5.50, I'd maybe create a variation of that copy because it's just like a small change to get it under $5. But with this one, I'm going to have to like go from $7.20 to under $5. I'm probably just going to test like a brand new piece of copy. So that's what I'd do at the ad level for this one. And then these two I would turn off, and I'm going to launch 2 different ad sets with 2 different videos. So that would be kind of like the game plan of how I would attack this, and it would probably be the same for the others. So I'll quickly go in here. You can see this one, I actually increased the budget $5.75, and I think it just kind of like tanked. So if we go to last week, yeah, it still wasn't working very well. Maybe, did it work well for the first 4 days? Yeah, it was probably $5.40. I probably got like a little bit excited and was like, yeah, let's increase the budget. But then I probably increased the budget $5.14 on this day. And it looks like it just went to shit basically since I increased the budget, which is the risk you run, but I did want to spend more money on it. So this didn't even spend any money at all. And the reason why is because I actually didn't like this video. And maybe it was my own personal bias, but I didn't think this video would work well. And in the other campaigns, I don't think it started very well, where we used the same video. So I actually didn't launch it. And I just launched these 2. And then I think at the end of last week or over the weekend, I launched this one. So this was like a new video that our client filmed for us last week. And you can see, not working too well. So to be honest with you, if I'm looking at this, I'm probably almost definitely turning this one off, even though it's only spent $250, just $11.92. If we go in at the ad level, yeah, everything's pretty shit. So I would turn this one off, and I'd probably look at this one, and I'm like, okay, can I relaunch another video that is similar to this one? Because this one right now, again, the amount spent is crap. So you can't make too much judgments and say, oh, this is a winning ad, because if we put $100 through this ad set or $1,000, the cost per lead will probably go up. But just going off the data for this campaign, so far, this is my best bet. So if I can find another creative that is similar-ish to this one and launch it, and then I can see how that does. So turning this one off, taking this one, making a variation, and launching that as well. And then, yeah, I'd go through, I don't maybe be a bit boring if I just go through each one, but that's basically my strategy. I just basically go through, analyze at the ad level, ad set level, which ad concepts aren't working, turn them off, look at what's working inside the ad account, inside the ad set. So if something is working inside the ad set, then I'll launch a new ad set that's a variation of it. If nothing's really working inside the ad set, then I'll just come up with a new angle or a new concept and I'll launch that. And then pretty much the same thing on the ad level. If I go to the ad level, something's massively off, then I'll turn it off. And if there's another ad in that ad set that's working well, then I'll create a variation of that ad. Or if nothing's really working well, I probably would have turned the ad set off anyway if nothing was working well. So again, with this one, if I'm looking at this, it's been running for like 5 days. So realistically, I'd probably turn these 2 off right now. I mean, we can have a look at this one. Nah, I mean, maybe I would turn this one off, let it run for a few more days, turn this one off, launch a new ad variation in here, and just see if the cost per lead comes down, because this is $5.29. So I might turn this one off, create a variation of this one, and just see how that performs. So maybe leave this ad set on, I turn this ad set off, leave this ad set on, to probably turn this ad off, take this ad, make a variation of it, launch it inside the ad set, and then I'd probably turn this one off and putting a new ad concept in there. So we always have 3 ad sets active inside. So that's kind of like my process is looking at it. If we have a look at the stuff that's working well right now, so if we go into this one, again, we've already increased the budget a couple of times on this one, and it's $4. So if we look at last week, $3.98, this week, $4.24. So it has increased a little bit as we've increased the budget, but still well below $5, which I'm super happy with. So in this case, like when I have something that's working, even though for me right now, it's kind of clear, obviously, that this one is the worst performer, I'm not really that worried about it. And there's a few reasons why. Number one is it taking up a big percentage of the budget? Well, actually, no. Number one is the overall campaign working? So you can see the overall campaign is working right now. It's $4.08. That's a really good cost per lead for us. So I'm very, like, when something overall is working, even if there's stuff inside that campaign or inside that ad set, I'm not really that bothered with turning it off as long as everything's working. And I might want to super optimize it and be like, no, turn this off and create a variation of this one, and I could increase it even more. That's true. But I could also just fuck it up, right? Messing around with, campaigns and launching new stuff and tweaking and testing, as we know, like, can mess campaigns up. So if something's working so well like this, I don't care if this is getting $6 cost per lead, because overall it's $4 and that's good for me. So that's number one, is the overall ad set or overall campaign working. And then number two is what's not working getting a significant amount of the budget? And you can see here that it's not, right? We spent $5K, only $137 has gone to this ad set. So I really don't care about it. I'm not going to turn it off. I'm not going to add in anything new. I'm probably just going to increase the budget on this campaign again and try and let it run. And it's the same with these ones which are working, right? So inside of here, I'm looking at this right now, and this is actually a really good example. Got pretty lucky with this. So again, I would run the same analysis. Is the overall, in this case, ad set, is it working? And you can see overall $4.07. Yes, that's very well within my KPI. So that's tick number one. Number two is the thing that isn't working getting a significant amount of budget. So the one that isn't working is this top one, $6.26 cost per lead, but it's spent less than 10% of the overall budget. So I'm really not concerned with it. Again, I'm not going to go in here, turn that off, launch another one, see if we can beat the variation. I don't know. If it was an evergreen campaign and it was less delicate, because right now, like, I need to get results in the next 30 days. I can't risk something messing up. Maybe if it was an evergreen campaign and I was being a bit more patient, maybe I would turn it off and create a variation, or maybe I just turn it off and just let the other two run. But for now, I don't want to mess anything up. This is my best performing campaign. It's US audience, getting a very good cheap cost per lead in a very competitive niche. So, like, I'm super happy with it. I'm not going to mess with it whatsoever. So that's how I approach my best performing ones as well. So even in I'm trying to, like, not, and a lot of people will tell you this, it's not just like my super secret strategy, but I try and not micromanage, like, the accounts as much anymore. And again, if overall the ad set is working, then I try and not mess too much with the ads, even if one of them is out of KPI. And it's the same concept with the campaigns. If the campaign overall is working, I try and not mess much with the ad sets, even if, one of them is outside of KPI. As long as overall performance is good and the stuff that isn't working isn't getting a significant amount of the budget. So I think that was pretty much, everything that I wanted to run through. Obviously, I won't go through every one because it'd get pretty boring, and I'll probably just see the watch time on this video just go, woo, probably drop. But that's kind of like how I would look at it. So I'm going to basically go through and do that analysis right now on all of these different campaigns. I'm going to launch the new ads that we have from the client, and I will film another update I mean, we're in week 2 now. I'll probably film another update next week, probably. I think with these series in the past, I have filmed them like every 2 to 3 days, and I think people just get lost in them, and maybe they're not as valuable as they could be. So maybe I'll film a little bit longer, and maybe I'll just do an update every week and kind of do what I've just talked you through right there. The problem with that is that a lot happens in a week, and sometimes you can forget some of the main talking points. But either way, let me know if you've got any questions. Let me know if you want to see anything specific with this series and kind of what I'm showing right now. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.